All right, guys. Here is another team that I'm like, do we really have to draft for this team? Simply put, and I didn't put on this shirt because I'm a fan of Dallas. It was coincidental, and I didn't realize, that we were drafting for the Cowboys today. The Cowboys. Looking at their depth chart and that sort of thing, and looking, and it's, oh my goodness, they have a good number of picks. They have 10 picks. Interesting. So we're going to start this draft right after we look at the depth chart. I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm not quite sure exactly what we draft that helps this team. I have kind of a sense, but it's kind of bizarre from 2 years ago when you were like, oh yeah, this position's solidified. Last year, oh, it seems like it's not solidified. And weird. I'm going to go over this very quickly, and then I'm just going to wing it on the draft. So for wide receiver, we obviously have CeeDee Lamb, who we all know is one of the top receivers in the league. When Dak can accurately put the ball in his vicinity. Jonathan Mingo, interesting. Jalen Tolbert, interesting. Cavante Turpin. And then the no-names, a bunch of guys that I'm like, I don't know about these guys, so excuse me. The O-line, obviously, Tyler Smith is the stalwart you have. He's the only piece, as far as I'm concerned, that is like worthy of saying that, hey, this guy, there's no way we can replace him. Cooper Beebe, I guess he did do well last year, getting moved to center, type of thing. Excuse me. And then it's like we look at these other guys. Obviously, the retirement of Martin, not good. Brock Hoffman, he used to have a pretty solid interior, and you would only need to address tackle potentially. We will probably look at guards and tackles at some point. I was saying on how tight end might have been a situation where we didn't have to look at it, but Ferguson didn't do as well last year as he did the year before. Schoonmaker they drafted, I'm not sure. I don't think he did much. And then you look at the running back room is pretty much revamped. They don't have Dowdle anymore, and they replace him with Javonte Williams, who hasn't been the same since his injury, and then Miles Sanders, who is far from the guy that people wanted a few years ago. Moving on to the defense, we obviously have Micah Parsons, and then we have like Adigi Zua, I guess. They signed Fowler, even though I personally feel like Marshawn Nealon should have gotten a shot there, and that maybe he should be starting over Fowler, but Fowler obviously more experience. Defensive interior we probably look at. I don't think we have to look at ends, I guess, is another one we can kind of cross off. Weak side linebacker, Overshown, I think, was, not a bad, but he got injured. Maris Liufau, and then they bring in Kenneth Murray, who has just been kind of disappointing since he's been drafted and moved from several different teams. Looking at the corners, they weren't very good last year, even though they're like, oh yeah, Trevin Diggs and then Deron Bland. But it's like you were getting a lot of picks on teams that just didn't have good protection, forcing them to throw like ducks to you. I don't know if they would draft a TB, I'm not going to lie. They bring in Kyer Elam, so clearly they think it's somewhat of a need. Who the heck knows what Jerry Jones is going to do? But I guess looking at the safeties, Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson, Hooker's not terrible. Donovan Wilson, I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe we could replace this guy. But without further ado, we're going to start the draft. Pick 12. And we have T-Mac available. Looking at who was grabbed before this, we have, the potential, I think if Membu dropped, it would be a very, very, very good grab for them, type of thing. Do we have any? Nope. The Will Campbell got drafted 3rd. And, goodness gracious, this is very different, but most of the same guys. Tyler Warren goes 8. Interesting. And then Jahad Campbell to the Niners. Looking at this position, it's kind of strange to me that we have Malachi Starks. Here. I think that, I drafted him to Sam Fran yesterday, and I think that was an overall, really good pick. But T-Mac, I just wonder if he would be a guy drafted by this team. Is he a Jerry Jones wide receiver? I honestly think that, maybe. But heck, we'll draft him here, and that'll be us addressing wide receiver and giving CeeDee Lamb some relief. And then it's like T-Mac can go up for those wayward footballs that Dak sometimes throws. 2nd round, we do have Xavier Watts here. I like Xavier Watts. I think that he's a guy that has good size. I think that he would fit that kind of mold for them. And it's like the only other kind of players that I see right here that maybe, you go for is, you could go for Demetrius Knight. But overall, I think you do need a safety. And obviously a free safety. So it's like Xavier Watts, we're going to say they're his guy because there's no one available that is. Oh, and then we go all the way down to 76. I'm actually going to say they draft Demetrius Knight here. Or do we look at some of these defensive interiors here? Or even Chris Paul Jr.? Let's look at a few of these. Obviously, Demetrius Knight, good size, good, experienced guy, really good run defense, which I'm pretty sure they struggled with, last year on the Cowboys. Chris Paul, quick guy, little smaller, needs mass, but it's definitely can cover type of thing. But otherwise, this could be a guy that gives you good coverage, but I don't think they really need that, to be honest with you. We go to the next to tackle, a guy that they, I don't think Marcus Mabau, I don't know why he's ranked this high, I guess. He's a good size. So I just don't, I'm not a huge fan. Tight end, we're going to skip over him. The interior, we have a guy of good prototypical size, played in a big school, went to Texas. Run defense, is not the best, but pass rush is pretty good, and they always seem to want to get pass rush. Maybe, and this guy obviously, lined up all over the place and did well against some good talent, in college. Let's go and look at the next one. We have Joshua Farmer. His run defense isn't good. He looks like a guy who's, large enough in size. And yeah, if he's not a good run defender, I just don't see him going there. So it's like, who else do we have to look at? I guess we have Trey Harris here, but it's a little early to go for him. We have another defensive interior here that is a very good big size. Run defense is average, but good pass rush win rate for the interior. And I guess, the run stop rate isn't bad. So, interestingly enough, and playing some good talent, but not having the best of grades. No sack production, even though he has a good win rate, but he does get hurries, I guess. So, I don't think that any of these guys are kind of it besides Demetrius Knight. I think if he falls this deep, you just have to take him. Moving on, we have pick 149. At this point, we're kind of looking. We have halfback, we have wide receivers right here, we have edge. We don't really have another edge there. There's Kobe Kane, but that's far down. I personally think, looking at this, that this would be a spot that they would trade down, but we're going to draft per need, and we're going to look at the tackles available, even though obviously they're like further down the rankings. Logan Brown, good pass block, decent gap, zone grade, really good. Good size as well. Played exclusively at right tackle, which I think, is where he would end up on this Cowboys team. Oh, and look, they've even mocked him to the Cowboys, I guess. Now we'll look at Emory Jones, 21, 6'6", 315. Raw power, not the best, to be honest with you, but he looks like he has really good size, and another right tackle, which is what I think that they need. Now we'll look at John Williams. Pass block grade, the highest out of the three that we've had. Good size, too. So, but he lined up at left tackle. Could definitely line up at right tackle with this size. I think, it's definitely one of those things that's like, are you open to moving him? But we're actually going to go ahead and, look at some of these other guys. Jack Nelson actually looks like, honestly, a dude that, like, you could play a lot. Missed, I guess a couple of games with some injury issues, small injury issues, obviously, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to draft this guy for the Cowboys. Now we've got a couple of picks kind of back-to-back type of thing. We do have Kobe Kane that is still here. I'm actually going to double down, and I'm going to say that they go and grab this guy. Sorry, Kobe Kane. And then we get here, and we have, we still have Logan Brown, and could grab him, grab just 2 tackles. It's kind of one of those things that with who you have, it's just kind of like, oh, we could grab a guy that's just, and then we're looking around here, and it's like the players available. We have a couple QBs and then some offensive players. Maybe we do look at running back here, because there's a guy right here. Had a really good year last year grade-wise. Had more production, I guess. Obviously more attempts, but very similar. Is this the guy? Well, a very small but very stocky man. Limits overall ceiling. So, this guy looks like he's dependent on a lot of carries. Obviously missing some time too, but, not the top speed. I'm not sure he's the guy. We're going to look at Logan Brown again, and I'm going to say we're just going to draft him. We're going to double down on tackle, and, our recent picks, and, that'll do it. So right now we've drafted a couple tackles, a couple linebackers, a safety, and a wide receiver. Perhaps there is somebody, that's but kind of looking at this, maybe we look at Taj Brooks. Maybe we finally kind of address this and see if he's kind of the guy. I know that there's very, very stocky guy. I know that I think that Jerry Jones likes these kinds of guys. Rushing grade, gap grade, not the most elusive, but he is a bigger pound it guy, but very solid production. Even missing 2 games, he got better. We're actually 17 TDs. That's a lot. We're going to make Taj Brooks a Cowboy. Then we have another pick, round 6. And how many picks do we have left? We have 3 picks left. And we've addressed a good amount of the needs. We've addressed a good amount of the needs so far. And I do see a guard right here in kind of the next 10 couple guards. We'll look at Frazier real quick. Really good pass block grade. The run block grade, a little bit better than average, but still kind of low. Gap, zone. This, very healthy and played right guard, which is what they would need him to play. We're actually just going to go ahead and pull the trigger on Miles Frazier. Moving here, I'm wondering if there's any sort of remorse over. Wonder if there's any sort of remorse for Jerry about Dak Prescott. And there's the rumors that they trade him, but I really don't believe them that much. We are going to look at another wide receiver because I think, maybe you could have a bona fide slot. Is this gentleman a slot? Probably not. It doesn't show where he... Oh, slot snaps. Okay, this guy did not play in the slot. We're definitely not really going to go for him. Looking at this, maybe we go and we look at DB potentially. And we have Ventrell Cypress, who had a really good graded year a few years ago, has digressed since. Been injury prone, unfortunately, but I still don't think that really stops Jerry Jones. And I guess pass rating isn't very good. I'm honestly thinking he's not the guy. Just wondering what to draft for this team, really. We haven't drafted. We've drafted 1 guard. Kyron Lacey, a slot. Has lined up everywhere, but he's been out wide mostly, and he's definitely, he's not. I'm really actually having a hard time thinking of who the heck they grab here. I remember looking at these a lot and thinking goodness, and it's like you bring in a new coaching staff and you never know quite what these guys are thinking. But then again, it's Jerry Jones as well that you're dealing with. I'm actually going to say that they are going to draft a QB. Let's look here. I'm going to have them draft Seth Hannigan. He looks like, I don't know, he just looks like that kind of guy that, maybe he could be a project and a guy who improves or something with some sitting time. He was a senior and he's good prototypical size. Looking at the last pick here, with who we've addressed, it's like we've addressed guard, tackle, wide receiver, safety, linebacker quite a bit. I think we do go corner here, and we'll see kind of who, because it's like, you need healthy corners, and it's like it's hard to find a lot of good ones, obviously, but I'm kind of looking for the guys that are good at man coverage. potentially potentially slot guys, to be honest with you, because I think that they need a true slot in Dallas. Here's a guy last year that's lined up in the slot quite a bit. Had a couple of TDs off picks. Passer rating was not very good. I doubt we're going to find anybody that is. Here's a guy who started in the slot quite a bit. Also did, a lot of other things. One TD, one interception. Perhaps this guy, who has a very good run defense too that they could use. Maybe they do go Shamari Simmons. And that's what we're going to do. And I feel like this draft was really weird. I'm like, who are the Cowboys going to go for? Let's see. Great job. That's a good looking draft. Oh, no suggestions. That's kind of nuts, actually. So overall grade of an A. They knocked me for the QB, really. Simmons, not that I want to improve their O-line or anything, I guess. Oh, Jack Nelson, an F here. I guess way too much of a reach. They had no suggestions, though. Like, I guess they think that they need this guy. But, yeah, overall kind of crazy. We can go and look and see what they mocked in this, type of thing. A lot of it looks very similar. To what we've seen. We've got some of these guys. So yeah, kind of crazy, that we've got, a lot of the similarities, but like, yeah, this is, if you're a Cowboys fan and you like this, or you think, that, hey, I'm completely off with the positions I think that they need, go ahead and tell me or say what you would have changed. I do think that I think that they need a more reliable backup than Will Grier, to be honest with you. And it's like, so drafting a QB kind of makes sense, when I was kind of like, what is going on type of thing. So I want to thank you guys for watching this one. The Cowboys, I feel like it's a crapshoot. I feel like Jerry Jones is one of the weirdest. And it's like, sometimes you kind of know that guy that's like, if he's available, he's going for, but I want to thank you guys all for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.